Good evening, friends, and welcome to yet another session of Market Mirror. Thank you all for being supportive of this room. Every week, we try to give a different perspective of the markets. Most of the time, I'll be speaking, but we have had exceptions where we had Mr. Green, who spoke on Richer, Wiser, Happier, and then we had Major General Gilganchi, who spoke on the Ukraine crisis. Uh, Currently, the whole investment world is aghast at the goings on in the NSE. NSE, we know, is the world's largest stock exchange, one of the world's largest stock exchanges. Of course, it's India's largest stock exchange. Came in 94, more than 25 years, built up a reputation for a long time as one of the most transparent exchanges. But then suddenly we are seeing some news which is shaking a lot of confidence in old time investors like us. So there were requests from quite a few of the listeners, and based on that feedback, they mentioned that why don't you do a session on these this particular episode? And I actually originally thought of doing it on the other episodes of what happened in the stock exchanges, like the BSE in 1998 and the NSCL in 2014. But over a period of time, I thought, why don't we focus only on the latest? Because all of us want information on the latest. Maybe sometime in the future we'll do on the other two scams. These are not stockbroker scams; these are stock exchange scams. Okay. Uh, so, uh, so then, who is the best person who can address this issue? Of course, every week I take up the topic and uh, speak on the topic for about 20-30 minutes and then throw it open to the discussion. But I was by happy accident, I should say, that I chanced upon this book, Absolute Power, which is a fabulous book, which it's like a Frederick Forsyth novel, and amazing kind of details are there. Frederick Forsyth novels are always very detailed. They are basically thrillers. For people who read them, they'll understand what I'm talking about. But this book, Absolute Power, is really an absolute must-read and absolutely a riveting thriller. But it is truthful, and truth is always stranger than fiction. And so I thought, who could be the best people who could talk about and throw light on this? Incidentally, I read this book start to finish within 24 hours. It's that good. Okay, very rarely have I read any book start to finish, without any interruptions. So the best people, the what I call the power couple or the superstars or the rock stars of finance, are none other than the husband-wife duo of Sucheta Dalal and Debashis Basu. So I, just as a lark, like what I did with Mr. William Green, I just DM'd Debashis and asked him, would you like to join us? And I was extremely happy that he immediately accepted. He said, see, I've got friends coming on Sunday and I have to repair my car. But I told him, boss, it's at 8:30. So he said, okay, no car workshop will be open at 8:30. So I will definitely come. So it was really wonderful for all of us that he's here. Now, this duos has started their, investigative journalism. Investigative journalism, most journalists have forgot what investigative journalism is all about. But these people have, relentlessly, stuck to the task of, ferreting out the truth, as I would call it, into the dark and murky world of high finance. And their organization, Money Life, has been at the forefront of investor awareness. I strongly suggest that you look at the website Money Life. I am shamelessly plugging it because I have derived a great amount of information and also awareness, and I've sent a lot of people to that website whenever they have any issues on investor issues. So that's as far as the website is concerned, and the book. I would like to put a little more emphasis here. Of course, Sucheta is the firebrand in the power couple. Babu Moshe is the intelligent man, and Sucheta is the, what I would say, relentless pursuer of truth. And I'm again, I must unashamedly tell you that she's a Kannadiga. She is from Belgaum, and Belgaum is the place. There's a small place called Kittur in Belgaum district, where Kittur Rani Chennamma was there, and she fought the British relentlessly. And she's a heroine in Karnataka, Kittur Rani Chennamma, and Sucheta comes from that area. So obviously, the earth of Belgaum has got into her, like it got into Kittur Rani Chennamma. So that is as far as Sucheta is concerned. So what we will do today is basically I will ask a few questions to Debashis, and then very brief questions, and he will expound on the topic. He has given us only 1 hour, so I'll try to be as brief as possible as for my questions, and I request him to stay for a longer time because the audience will love to ask him all kinds of questions. So that is as far as the format is concerned. Just a brief introduction of Debashis. He is a chartered accountant. He has 35 years experience as a journalist, columnist, and author of several books. He has worked with Times of India, Business World, Business India, Business Today, Financial Express, what have you. All the major financial journals he's been there. He has also co-authored the best-selling The Scam, which has been made into a popular TV series, which I'm sure you all have seen. So that is as far as a brief introduction of Debashis is concerned. Welcome Debashis to our room. Today, as I said, we will focus only on the NSC and what he has covered in his book. So this will be in 4 parts, basically on the co-location and the shenanigans of the actors, and then what next, basically. And then we'll try to see whether, we'll try to ask him whether he knows who the yogi is. So thank you, Debashis. Welcome once again to our room.
Thank you so much, Vijay. What a brilliant introduction you gave. I don't know whether it's a long one. You've not left out anything. And it was really, really very, very nice of you to have invited me. And I hope to do justice to the large number of people who come here, listen to you, or loyal followers, and hope to enlighten everybody with what exactly has happened. Thanks once again.
Yeah. So Debashis, I will keep it very brief, and you will expound on each of the topics.
Sure.
So I just want to start off saying NSC started as a transparent organization in 1994 in Mumbai, went national in 95. For the first few years under Dr. R.H. Patil, it was considered as a model exchange. It did everything right. But then where did it all go wrong? So would you like to just expound on this, please?
See, NSC was conceived just after the scam of 1992 and you must have read in the book how Montek Singh Ahluwalia, how G.V. Ramakrishna, how the IDBI chairman at that time, S.S. Nadkarni, all under the Ministry of Finance, SEBI, IDBI was a preeminent institutions with all the money and resources to start up something new on behalf of the government, and how all of them were so disgusted with the BSE's continuous lack of transparency, the settlement delays, the all kinds of scam that used to go on, the what you call frequent strikes, which were engineered so that pain and payout could be suited to somebody, some big speculator or the other, and regular defaults. So all this was not being addressed because BSE was at that time a brokers club. When SEBI came in, they refused to. They were all so angry, so incensed. I don't think people can even visualize, because most of the listeners would not have either paid attention or would not have nothing to do with the market, probably in school at that time. You would not be able to even visualize how the tables have turned, and what the at that time they said, who we? Why do we have to register? This was the start. Now, can you imagine any broker saying that who's SEBI and who's NSE and why do we have to register? So this is how it all started, and then they got statutory powers because the scam really came in there very handy for those who wanted change to say that, look, this is going to happen repeatedly and you need an alternative. And a lot of things we take for granted. A lot of things look very easy and simple in hindsight. It's almost like a stock chart. When you look at a weekly rise of Bajaj Finance and you say, oh, this is easy, I mean, you should have bought it at every dip. So, so the journey of any successful institution is like that. We never realize what could have gone wrong. Now, among the lot of things that could have gone wrong, and the brokers at that time were quite right in saying that, how can a government organization set up a stock exchange? Now, you step back, it's quite right to think that, I mean, look at the public sector organizations, look at the kind of shape they are in. Anything the government does is a mess, really. And stock exchange, I mean, will it even start? Will it even work? I mean, it's certain to fail. A lot of BSE brokers didn't even bother to take NSE membership, which was at a very, very low price, 10 lakhs or something. It was just going at that time. Now, uh, things happen, which is a stroke of luck or whatever you call it. And a lot of these institutions, a lot of changes that have happened eventually can be tracked down to one individual, two individuals, and so on. So it was a stroke of luck for India that SEBI had a chairman like G.V. Ramakrishna, not like the subsequent chairman. It was a stroke of luck that in this nameless, faceless, huge bureaucracy called IDBI, which is responsible for huge non-performing assets in India, continuously funding dubious promoters like SR and the Vinay Rai of Usha Rectifier and this and that and all kinds of down the line, all kinds of loans which are going bad and which are all based on political influence or corruption or whatever. In this kind of an organization, there was a man called R.H. Patil, who is also from the same area, which is Hubli, Dharwad, Belgaum area. And nobody knew. I mean, people in the industry would have known certainly about him, but who would have known that an economist, banker, who's more into data and statistics, would be selected, and he would turn out to be such a mastermind in creating a transparent, functioning, efficient stock market. So there was a series of things which happened, which were all, matters of luck, and it can sometimes happen that you get all this successive series of events. So that's what happened. So it was not preordained. Somebody else, in case of Patil, would have messed it up. If the government had dilly-dallied, BSE would have continued. All kinds of things could have happened. So human mind it's not easy for us to deal with what is called counterfactual. What could have happened? We all take for granted what has already happened because that seems so easy to understand. So a lot of things could have gone wrong, but a lot of things went right because remember at that time, some people like used to also come back and choose to work for government organizations, public sectors. I know a friend who's from Ahmedabad. Lifelong, he worked for a public sector bank. Ravi Narayan is from Wharton. He was working in IDBI. These things also were happening at that time. Pradeep Kar, who was from, was a MBA from France, was working in SEBI, for instance. So there are good quality minds available in the public sector also. They were not given chances, but R.H. Patil put together a team of Ravi Narayan and Chitra Ramakrishna, and later on Ashish Chauhan, who is now BSc, who was there, and then Raghavan Putran, who's now no longer with NSE about 20 years ago. He's now become a monk. So he put together a very crack team. He himself was a very, very principled and clear-headed man who knew exactly on what basis stock exchanges should be set up. They studied all the models around the world. They looked at all kinds of technologies. There was no vested interest. He just wanted to do it right. And he was driven with a simple idea of what is the right thing to do. He's no great shakes. He was not dreaming of creating a $1 billion empire or anything. He was just a man who wanted to do the correct things. And he had this team who was around him, who were quite bright at that time, and they did what he asked them to do. Now, unfortunately, he started to withdraw himself and eventually stepped down from the active management sometime around, I think, 99 or 98, 99, thereabouts, around 2000. So after that, he remained on the board, but uh, he was not in the day-to-day management functions. Now, it is now with the benefit of hindsight that we know that whoever succeeded him, what kind of mindset they had, how they changed over the years, how the principles which Arish Patil had, on the basis of which he had created the stock exchange, how those principles started getting compromised little by little by little. So it all started with the first sign of this. Now, all of these things also came out much later. Once again, if you have a successful organization, 94, they started, by 95, 96, they had become number one. Okay, 94 October they started. By within a year and a few months later, they had become number one. They beat a BSE because people really liked the system. There were no, there were the settlements were happening in time, and NSE went out of its way to popularize the systems and engage the brokers. A lot of new brokers came into the thing, and a lot of high quality BSE brokers shifted. Had also taken membership of NSE and said that, well, this is a much better system. Let's do it over here. It's only the speculative brokers who kept on, complaining and remained with NSE. Now, so it once it became successful, it now appears with a long benefit of 20 years of experience, so that we can now join all the dots. It now appears that the somebody who succeeded Dr. Arish Patil, namely Ravi Narayan, was certainly of a different mindset. All right, and this mindset got repeatedly uh, sort of expressed in a variety of ways. So, for instance, in 2000, they were this during that Ketan Parekh scam when the market crashed. There was this whole issue of what is called ALBM, which is nothing other than NSE's way of doing badla. Okay. Now, ALBM was a big scam, but the scam got nicely covered up because there were so many other things for the investigative agencies or the Joint Parliamentary Committee to follow, and there were big people behind running that LBM scheme, and they ensured that none of these, whatever was happening in LBM, was nicely buried. A few years later, NSE, 2005 Right to Information Act came. All right. When the Right to Information Act came, there was a little bit of confusion about exactly which kind of organization should come under RTI. Straightforward government organizations certainly do come. And whereas there are these gray areas. What if a government organization what if there is an organization in which government has equity stake? Should they come under it or not? What if it's a special purpose vehicle in which government has a stake or has some say? Do they come under it or not? Very surprisingly, you use the word transparent. This transparent, efficient stock exchange called NSE fought tooth and nail to make sure that they don't come under RTI. It was like, no expense or no effort spared to to get a judgment uh, through various legal forums, uh, eventually culminating in a case in High Court. Now, it will be fascinating for you to I'll just leave the simple fact over here. The case went on right up to 2010, when when a single judge of the Delhi High Court said NSE should come under RTI. Within a few days, there was a NSE went on appeal, and you would be surprised to know that in the next 12 years, the case has never been heard. Meanwhile, through continuous dilution of equity, of the government stake in equity. The state bank sells a little bit, LIC sells a little bit, Azim Premji found, family office buys something, somebody's mother buys some shares. So in a continuous manner, the government stake has got diluted. And anyway, now it's gone below 51%. So it's now gone into the complete gray area. This is not a government organization. Government doesn't have a substantial say. Yeah, so what if they function within a strict regulation formulated by the government? So all of these become gray area. Now it's become very impossible for the case to come up or anybody to argue also. So this transparency, this was the first hint of the fact that we are now under Ravi Narayan. The exchange has gone into a new regime. Second point, which is very fascinating, and you must have, since you read the book, you must have realized that we have a nice little small personal anecdote which Sujata has written, and which concerned about a simple thing, that one fine day somebody told Sujata that you know what, NSC's annual report is not available, and he was an academic who just wanted to do some analysis. So she told this guy, this professor, it's not possible. Of course, it's available. It must be there on the website, and they'll give it to you if you ask them. So he asked again, and no, NSC would not give it. So then Sucheta asked Ravi Narayan, this annual report should be easy to give, right? Yeah, most certainly I'll give. That's not a problem. Okay. But it still doesn't go, is not sent. So she keeps asking, it doesn't go. And then one fine day, she said, well, what's going on? Are you going to give it, or is it, are you playing games? So that Ravi very clearly said, I'm sorry, we will not share the annual. It was such an extraordinary stance to take for such a transparent and efficient stock exchange. What were they trying to hide? There was nothing to hide. The only thing we discovered much later, that some of these institutions like NSDL and NSE, which have fattened themselves on our money, the fees that we pay, the trading fees, the brokers fee, the registration fees, and all of this is the main income. The main income is not IPO listing. That's very little. Listing fees are also not much. Entire money coming to exchanges and entire money coming to organizations, semi-monopoly or organizations like depositories is our money, right? And they would not want anybody to know how incredibly profitable they are. I mean, I have not come across, you analyze companies, the best of Indian companies at the best of times, which is software stocks during the dot-com, did not enjoy ever a 70% operating margin, which NSE enjoys today and has been enjoying for decades. They didn't want anybody to know about it. So here is a transparent exchange, set up with government money, set up with a team from IDBI, who would not want to part with annual report. Can you imagine? It's a regulated entity. It itself is a first line of regulator. And this is its level of transparency. This was a second. So I'm saying connect the dots. Look back and think about all this. Now this is 2005, 6, 7, 8, right up to 10. In 2000, by 2008, we had. I mean, I don't want to get into those things that are really controversial and beyond the point. We cannot name names unless we have proof. But there was some major changes that had happened in 2008. For one, Mr. C.V. Bhave became the chairman of SEBI. All right. In Delhi also, there were changes. For a while, Pranab Mukherjee was the FM, and then Mr. Chidambaram became the FM. He had his own team. Suddenly, NSE started becoming extraordinarily powerful and started flexing muscle. So if you read our book, if you see the chronology of events that have happened, most up till 2008, it was, profitable. NSE, it's been run by people, they're making good money, the exchange is running profitably. That's one thing. But to set up, they wanted to grab, first of all, BSE wanted to make an investment in CAMS. All right. SEBI told them informally, sorry, you can't do it. A year later, NSE goes and invests in CAMS. Nothing happens. They made a windfall profit when CAMS eventually got listed. So all these things, if you read the book, there will be many more instances like this. Unless you read it, you won't know the granularity of the problems that have started in 2008 and culminated in the algo scam of 2013 14 when it actually 15 when actually we wrote. By that time the scam was, the NSE had changed its systems and got onto a better system and so on from TBT and all that. So from 2008 to 2014, roughly 13-14, the NSE had done whatever they wanted. It's extraordinary how much of powers how much of muscle they flexed, what they wanted to grab, how they wanted to run, whom they wanted to crush. They didn't want any competition. They stopped Nasdaq from coming in investing in BSE. They wanted to crush MCX and MCX SX. They grabbed CAMS. They set up. They made an investment in Omnisys, which is completely irregular. I mean, it violates any principles because Omnisys was a broker and they were allowed to make an investment in. Nothing happened to them. They all got away scot-free. So within that short period, from 2008, and Dr. Patil passed away, I think, in 2012 or so. 2008 to 2014, the 6 years, they were like period of absolute power for them. The most amazing thing in all this is that NSE is not an Adani, Ambani, Mittal, Ruya company. This is an independent professional company. Point number one. It was set up by government funding, government institutions. SBI, LIC still have a major stake and say in the functioning of it. It is a first line regulator. It is itself a regulated entity, strictly under the amount of rules and regulations that SEBI imposes on everybody and NSE imposes on us and brokers and traders is mind-boggling. It's like how the banks are under RBI. It's like that. It's not a free entity. Competition is not free. You can't set up an exchange today. You need a license. Government won't give you a license. So it's not a normal commercial organization, which people tend to forget. It has turned out to be a monopoly, and in this kind of a situation, a simple question that everybody would want to ask is this: that being a regulated entity, what was being a regulated entity if it could do all of these things at will? What was the regulator doing? I'll stop here, which gives you a complete background of what's been going on in the initial 10-15 years, and we'll move on to your second question and further phases.
Yeah. Thanks, Debashis, for a wonderful exposition of what happened since inception. The second topic which I would like you to talk about is the colo scam. A lot of people may not be aware right now, but it was where it all started, I suppose. The can of worms really opened up with the colo scam whistleblower who sent Sucheta the letter and details. Kindly go ahead.
Well, co-location itself in our book, and this is a position that we have taken, and I don't think anybody else has taken this position, but we have given a lot of facts to prove the fact that NSE had started co-location illegally. We made this point in the book, so I'm not saying anything which is extraordinary. Okay, and I'll tell you why. This is part of the same period, 2008 to 2014, when they did whatever they wanted to. Now, in April 2008, which was just about 2 months after CB Bhave took over, the SEBI issued a circular on what it's called direct market access. Okay, so direct market access was something that a lot of people wanted, but SEBI wasn't keen under Damodar. Within Bhave took over in February 2008, and immediately the team, SEBI people were told, please start working on direct market access and put up a paper for discussion. Within 2 months, all the discussion, everything got over, and SEBI put out a circular on direct market access. Now, direct market access is not co-location. Okay, the co-location is something else. Now, when this thing was announced, this is such a humongous step. Algo trading is very controversial around the world. Okay, so nobody knew. There was hardly any discussion about it. In 2010, January 2010, NSE quietly launched what is called co-location 2 years after the direct market access was issued. When NSE launched algo trading in India, the anybody who is familiar with the way policy is drawn up, anybody who is familiar with how major decisions are taken, would immediately would tell you that surely there was a position paper or a white paper, there would have been a committee. They've done that. When they wanted to change PMS, they did that. When they wanted to change advisory regulation, they did that. So you create a committee, you put up white paper, you invite comments, you collate all the comments, go back to the draft policy, and issue a final circular. This is a process. This is a process started by G.V. Ramakrishna. This is a process followed by everybody. For such a monumental thing as algo trading, none of these things had happened. Nothing, no discussion paper and consultation. They already have. SEBI has what is called a technical advisory committee. Nothing of this happened. Okay, and all these established processes were compromised, and NSE, same period, 2008 to 2014, just went ahead and started co-location. Now, the technology of that co-location was a poor quality technology. By this time, actually, NSE was started with the technology has to be continuously upgraded and upgraded. I don't think NSE has done that, which is why you saw so many of these glitches and constantly last year. So NSE's they had enormous clout to launch it, but that clout was one thing. Internally, they were not ready. There was not enough attention to technology in a business where technology is all important. So when NSE started co-location, they started what is called a tick by tick system in 2010. Okay, and tick by tick, in technically speaking, the how does a colo? Let's step back and see how does a co-location. There are servers in NSE. If you are connected to the server, you get access to prices which are faster than you and I would if we sat on in front of a computer in front of Zerodha and we did the trade. This is allowed. There has to be a structure. Within the structure, you are allowed to get that direct access and better prices and so on. But the key thing, everybody in Colo should get prices at the same time. But TBT was firing prices one by one, all right? Which basically means that if somebody could log in first, he would get better prices than others. And this is exactly what has happened. I don't want to go into too much of these technical details, but essentially this system was compromised. NSE co-location staff was compromised, and and certain brokers, and this is all there in you can go to SEBI's website and see all the orders that we issued against co-location. Certain people managed to get better access, faster access. They even managed to get access to servers where they were not supposed to, backup servers where they were not open to login, which they did, and all NSE people would do is gently tell them, please don't do this and please don't do that. Eventually, a whistleblower found out all this. I mean, he was a trader. He was part of a trading firm. He said, well, I am interested because I am losing out because some people are gaining unfair access. So I investigated and I found out all of the stuff that has happened in a dense, several pages, full of technical details. He sent a letter to SEBI with a CC only to Sucheta, outside SEBI, that is. Okay, nobody else, no other journalist, no other policymaker, SEBI people and Sucheta. And this paper and see. Then after Suchita got that paper, she looked at it. It was too technical. She asked around, spoke to people, shared it with one or two people informally to find out, whether it's true or not. And eventually, we decided to publish the whole of it after asking NSE people that what do you have to say. They're so arrogant. They didn't want to bother to reply to us. Okay. Instead, they went and sued us, saying that you will have to take it down. If you don't do that, pay us 100 crore defamation, etc. And then the rest is history. We won the case thanks to a brilliant judge who read the thing, refused to be cowed down by a battery of lawyers that NSE had hired, and whatever. God is great. We were lucky. The judge was fantastic. He gave an unbiased judgment, and then SEBI started investigating. Questions were asked in the parliament, and the whole thing then started tumbling down. So this is the background to the algorithm.
Uh, Thanks for that, Debashis. I know that you people had a very, very tough time, fighting the colo scam. You have put it very briefly. When you go through the book, you feel very bad for you. Though there is a saying called "a clear conscience is a soft pillow." I wonder how you people actually slept through that, horrifying period where the entire might of the system was against you. So, would you like to share some more details
Yeah,
about that?
it was very difficult because we are a small organization, and anything other than the normal routine work creates a tremendous amount of stress on our resources, because you have to if you've ever been in a case, you would know how much of effort goes into drafting a reply. Whether the judge, normally judges don't read, but in our case, the judge read everything, every submissions that we made. But the lawyers will not do anything. They will depend on you to provide the facts, which is actually right. In the beginning, you know the facts. You are supposed to answer, and you have to give a point by point rebuttal. You can say one line saying that we disagree, we deny, etc., etc. But for your affidavit to be taken seriously, you have to spend a lot of time. You have to spend a lot of time in trying to explain your point of view. And those who, I mean, if you are running a large organization, you depute somebody, they deal with the lawyers, gets taken care of. That's one thing. But here in a smaller organization, we have to personally get involved. And over and above our normal work, this kind of tense thing, day after day, sitting with lawyers, writing, redrafting, and wondering what's going to happen anyway after all this, because we hear so many horror stories about, you know, cases going against people because they couldn't, because the other side had top lawyers who normally steamroller, and the courtroom is like a stage for them. So yeah, it was a lot of tense moments and a lot of effort, but fortunately, Dr. Subramaniam Swamy, who has fought and won many cases, almost he's virtually never lost a single case in his life. He offered to help us in the sense that he fights his own cases. So while the law is different under different high courts, the rules and regulations are different. You can ask under the Advocates Act. You can request somebody who is not a formal lawyer, but at the wishes of the court, the court grants, somebody can argue in your favor. So that's what he wanted to do. But Bombay High Court said nothing doing. We're not going to allow a third party. You can argue for yourself if you don't have a lawyer or something like that. Well, somebody told us, you take the hint. You know the best all the cases that the details of your own case. So you argue. You can make a written submission. You don't have to sit there and answer. There's no question answer right over there. You're making a point. So you can make a written submission also. So we wrote down our own submissions and so on. And in that process, Dr. Swamy helped us enormously. He gave us all the right case laws, Indian case laws, UK case laws, with their legal system being a little similar to ours, and one or two American case laws also. We studied all of them. accepted whichever relevant parts was relevant for us, in our context, similar cases, similar situations in the UK and US, and we made our submissions. And so that gave us enormous two things: enormous confidence, which I mean, this is the first time, right, for us, and also enormous firepower with actual the content of our submissions were very rich thanks to this help that we got from Dr. Swan.
Yeah, see, when I was reading this entire thing about the colo and the way they harassed you with a 100 crore, what shall I say, demand, and finally you won. I was
Yeah,
reminded of this Paul Coelho's book, The Alchemist, where he says,
yeah, yeah.
when you want something, the whole universe conspires in order for you to achieve it. The whole universe. I mean, everybody came around to help you, including the judge and Subramaniam Swami and others, and finally you won it. I think that was
No, it is
remarkable.
no, it is not. It is not that simple because they immediately appealed, right? And it went to a division bench,
Yes.
and then it wouldn't. So you can get a great judgment from one judge, but can always be overturned on appeal. And they have the money and the power to go right up to Supreme Court and division bench of Supreme Court and get it done. Because see, unfortunately, you know, I don't want to get into specifics, but we all know justice is not about truth in many cases. In many cases, it's about how a lawyer can marshal available facts and create a certain argument and win the day. So, and they could have got anybody. I mean, if they suppose they had gone to Supreme Court and got Harish Salve, I don't know what would have happened. So it's all right to look back and say you won, you won. I am always, I am an investor, and I'm very focused on distinguishing between luck and skill. I wouldn't say this was all my skill and we were great and we did great, and it was not so. It was significantly a matter of certain things going our way in that year, that time, that situation. So yeah, we were very very lucky. I mean, that's what I keep telling
Yeah, no,
myself.
no, that's the point I was making. When if you want something, the whole universe will conspire in your favor. It will not conspire against you. It will conspire in your favor. That is the point which anybody who's fighting a system should remember that you keep fighting somewhere, something will open up for you. That
Yeah,
is
that's true. Over the long
that.
run, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. You've been doing this for years, and I know you've got a lot of battle wounds. But finally, at least we can all look up to you, saying that if I mean, you have set a path. Whenever we get depressed, we can always see,
Yeah,
okay, these two people really trod the path which was not followed by a lot of people. And as far as the justice system is concerned, they say the prosecuting lawyer knows the truth, the defense lawyer knows the truth, only the judge does not know the truth. So so so
right.
sometimes the judge also knows nowadays, and yet he acts
Yes,
as if he doesn't know it.
yeah. In our case,
Yeah.
he knew. So, which is why, if you read the judgment, it is so extraordinary the kind of you know the language he has used, because he immediately saw through NSE. I'll just read out some segments of what he said. So, in one place, he said that in the plaint itself, a very curious picture is attempted to be portrayed of the NSE as an organization that, by its own telling of it, incapable of any mistake or any wrongdoing, since trading is regulated by circulars and a technical advisory committee's recommendation, no question can be raised against NSE. So this seems strangely like a claim to be the kind of infallibility best left to divinities, not mortal institutions. And as our mythology tells us, even our divinities have their foibles and failings. so,
Yeah,
so,
divinities maybe, but not
so
yogis.
then
No.
that's true. And then he puts such a strong statement. The NSE expects respect that is to be earned. It is not to be torn out of the throats of public that NSE is meant to serve. Now, a judge can write this when he has fully seen through what is happening here in this court. What is NSC trying to do? What are we? What is our background? What is their background? He has seen through it. He knows that this is an absolutely frivolous kind of a suit, and they have to be taught a lesson, which is why he gave such a remarkable judgment, which is now part of jurisprudence. The beauty about all this is that anybody who follows the process that Sucheta has followed can always fall back on this one judgment, any part of the country, to get an enormous help if a defamation case is filed against him or her. So that is a real contribution, I think, that the judge has done and our work has done, which is that it is now part of jurisprudence which can be drawn upon.
Yeah, my daughter is a lawyer herself. When I told her about this, she said, "Yeah, this is what great stuff is all about. You have to." We talk of Keshavananda Bharati case for years. We have
Right.
been quoting on that, or Bommai's
Right.
case. Now
Right.
it will be Sucheta Dalal and Debashis'
Right.
case, which you can use as a
Right.
precedent. That is amazing. I mean, people who follow law will understand what precedence is all about.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the final major question is. The current shenanigans of the management, which was there between 2013 and 16, and follow up to that. That is, I think, the most juiciest part, with the yogi playing a very huge role. More than the yogi, I would like you to just touch upon the shenanigans of the powers that be during this period, which is
Yeah.
actually the most shameful one, I would say.
Yeah. Now a lot of these things have come out in the open. All right. So, but my question once again is that, is this company owned by Chitra Ramakrishna? Is she another Mukesh Ambani who could do whatever she wanted to? No. This is, let's step back and think what we are dealing with here. This is once again to repeat, because I don't see too much of clarity in people's minds. Everybody's mind is focused on this woman and the yogi. Fact is, NSC is an institution. They had they had retired judges, they had retired IS officers, they had academic professors, they had you know retired top level professionals from banking and finance. These people were in the boards of NSC. Okay, and besides, most importantly, right until 2017 or so, I think, there was still Ravi Narayan, who stepped down as managing director 2 years before his term was to end in end of 2012, got himself appointed as a vice chairman. There was no vice chairman post ever in NSC. Vice chairman post was created for him. Who created that for him? The board of directors of NSC, all eminent men. You to Once again, to make this very clear to people who may not understand this, the importance of it, a board of directors of NSC could not have created a vice chairman's position even if they wanted to. Even shareholders could not have done it. It would have required SEBI's permission. Okay, so it is a regulated entity, and people have to understand the meaning of what is a regulated entity. Key management persons' names have to be cleared beforehand. There are submissions. You can't do whatever you want to. First of all, it's not your company. It's board managed, professional. It's regulated, which means what is the structure of the regulation? There's a ministry of there is a finance minister who has got tons of things to do. Below him or her, there is a department of capital markets. Below them is the SEBI members, eminent men, full of them. Then there is a SEBI top brass, which is executive directors and so on and so forth. Okay, there's a chairman. Everybody says SEBI is a chairman-run organization. Okay, chairman-led organization started by the precedent having been started by G.V. Ramakrishna. All IS officers, one after the other. Then comes the NSE board. See the structure. Everybody has to know. Everybody has to agree to this. And everybody, if they pay any attention to what we wrote, if they pay any attention to what was going on, would have easily known All of them would have known, according to me. Nobody can claim I did not know. Most of all, Ravi Narayan, who got himself appointed, having been in the management, wanted to get himself appointed as public interest director. I don't know what public interest he has served apart from serving the interest of NSE and expanding all different directions by crushing competition. Then comes after that comes Chitra. So above Chitra, there are 20 eminent men. What were all of them doing? If they say we didn't know, it is a dereliction of responsibility. If they say we knew, it's collusion. So if there is if the government is serious about investigating this, they have to ask each one of them, what were you doing? Is it okay to get 33 lakh, collectively walk away with 30-40 lakhs of sitting fees, and when the shit hits the fan, you say, oh, I didn't know. Why wouldn't you know? It's the same. Chitra Ramakrishna has played the same card. If you read um, all her submissions to SEBI, uh, technology, yeah, there is a team that they would be able to answer you. Why? You are the managing director. You walked away with 44 crore. They didn't. So this is typical of India. All the gains are mine. When it comes to accountability, I am not accountable. There is a team. Okay. So I would say, I mean, beyond all the salacious gossip about her relationship with, which we have mentioned over there in our book, we have written about interconnected doors in office. This is a joke or what? They had got a lift only for themselves. Nobody could enter that lift. Only these two would use that. The doors were interconnected. Then now there is a yogi. There's no yogi, it's Anand Subramaniam only. It's all hocus pocus, like this smoke screen. Okay. But forget all of that. If you really want to handle this seriously, if the PMO or the Minister of Finance really want to handle this, at least some of these people who got fat fees, international level salaries, and then left the institution in such a huge mess, was running it like a mom and pop shop. If a listed company tries to do this, do you think they will be able to get away even for a day or two? Every little submission of companies to the BSE or NSE is being analyzed. Any hint of bad governance, the stock gets hammered. Media writes about it. Here, nobody sees any evil, nobody talks about any evil, and these are all your top cream of your society, which is now donning the boards of our members of SEBI or directors of NSE, and the faceless bureaucrats in Ministry of Finance. These are the people at that time who were there at that time, who need to be asked, what were you doing? Were you sleeping? And why? What was the advantage that you got? What was the incentive given to you? Then you will get to know the entire story.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really flummoxed, Debashis, though you said that if they are on private sector companies' boards, people would ask questions. How is it that the entire ecosystem was silent? Okay, entire, excepting you two people, you two, the entire ecosystem, you can't, I mean, it's almost like you have bought the entire ecosystem and subdued them. Even politicians are not able to do that, you know. How, I
Two,
mean, what went wrong?
two things. One is the politicians get into it only when there is fun and games, as in they can make a lot of noise and attract public. If an issue comes to the front pages of a general newspaper, a politician is interested. He is not interested in an inside page issue in Economic Times. Their constituency is the general masses, the middle class, the poor, etc., etc. So they are fighting UP elections, this Goa elections, this that. So they're busy with that. So their game is different. If when this Himalayan yogi thing came, which SEBI so very innocently put out, put all of those emails and stuff like that, and India became a laughing stock for the world, and mainstream media started writing. None of these things happened earlier. Okay, the Times of India writes, or BBC does a story, or Wall Street Journal does something. Then these people will wake up. Then policymakers will first wake up. They will brief the politicians saying that, oh, this is bad for bad image, bad optics. Optics is everything in politics. So they will jump in, try to hog, and unfortunately today, and you may have seen my tweet, the nature of the politics also has changed. The opposition is virtually non-existent, not about this, but about any issue. So this is anyway a very technical issue, business issue, does not concern the masses. It's not of great importance to an average politician to talk about it. I would spend days together to make him explain what's going on over here. And then NSE is not listed, kya hai, some private equity people and this and that. No, exchange to chal raha hai, na? There's no problem in trading. People are able to buy and sell. Then what's the issue? There are hazard ways people will try to not understand the importance of it. At the end of the day, policy level issues are not something, and they are too esoteric for politicians. That is a one segment of the ecosystem. The second segment of the ecosystem, I will not talk too much about it. I will just leave you with one line over here. The media never looked at it the way we look at it, partly because maybe they are not interested, maybe they are not capable, and a small section of them are compromised because they get ads. We don't get ads from anybody, we don't care. Okay, so that doesn't matter to us, and even if we got ads, we still would do it. That doesn't matter to us. So anyway, this is not such a big thing, it's a small thing, but if media writes, some people at least notice, the bureaucrats notice, and this and that. So the media was not writing because of this reason, and the rest of them were all some way or the other beneficiary. If you are a former director of NSE or a current director of NSE, or if you are in some committee of theirs, or if you are in some organization set up by SEBI which you are heading, like an ISM, the ecosystem has a way of doling out these goodies to people. So you would see, there is a lot of interest in being in different kinds of forums, different places after retirement. Okay, so the system keeps people happy with these kind of assignments and stuff like that. If you're retired as a judge, you get to opine upon on you give out get into arbitration, give opinions. These are all a lot of money in that. So the system has spread over the years to encompass everybody who is willing to go with who the powerful people are, and there's enough of money for those who want to be satellites of the powerful. So who will speak?
Okay, so are you optimistic that something good will come out of it, or it just
It's
die down?
no, it the thing is that there are two ways of looking at it. I am never optimistic of the right thing happening, because for the right thing to happen, you have to have right-minded people everywhere, in CPI, in higher levels, in Delhi, and so on and so forth. Usually, they also have some sort of an agenda. So the agenda could be to, to give an appearance that a lot is being done. If that is the agenda, then the objective itself is very, very limited. So if the agenda is to, according to me, the best way to deal with this is multiple. First of all, you need to break this monopoly, where you have so much of money being made by one institution without just by being there. Today, NSE is minting money because somebody set it up at some time, and they are benefiting from the network effect, as it's called. So more people go there because more people are there, and therefore they keep benefiting. So this has to be. If I was somewhere in among the policy making team, wherever I am, I would first ensure the 70% margin business goes. This is absolutely unfair. This money is coming from us. I would drastically cut down on all this trading fees, this, that, terminal charges, etc., etc. I would have cut down, because you can't be. I mean, if you have make so much of money, automatically your mind will start working on using this money for something else. Okay, and something else we've seen was absolute power at any cost. Crush people, sue them. They have done such egregious thing. If you leave NSE, they went and put an ad in a hometown of that person saying that this guy is absconding. I mean, they're evil people, and all that came because they made tons of money without having to work for it. So that has to break. the system has to be move in a such a way that there is a proper viable competition. BSc comes up. BSc is a clean organization today. It has to be encouraged in some way or the other. Charges of NSE have to go down drastically so that their margins become normal. Even TCS doesn't make more than 30%, 32% operating margin. Okay, and it's working in a competitive situation. So that has to happen. And then, of course, the those who have done all of these wrongdoing have to be questioned and appropriate action taken. I am not sure any of these things will happen. There will be maybe one or two more arrests, and depending on else is a priority of the regime, UP, Ukraine, this, that, the next things will happen. We don't know. It all is an evolving and a fluid situation. If the government thinks that this is a good optics to put a couple of people behind bars, probably they'll do it. If it not, it'll die down. But these longer term changes, which is drastic reduction of their operating profit, which is creating a viable competition, are the real steps that need to be taken immediately.
Yeah. Thank you, Debashis. I don't have any more questions. I think the audience is very keen to ask you a few questions. We already passed the 1 hour mark. May I request you to stay for some time and
Sure.
please answer the
Sure.
questions.
Sure.
Vignesh, would you like to go first?
Sir, no, sir. The whatever questions was in my mind, you have asked it. So I would like to pass. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Vignesh. SR Srinivasan, sir, would you like to ask a question? Okay. Before Mr. Srinivasan, sir, Vivek, would you like to ask a question to Debashis? Oh, sorry, 1 minute, 1 minute. Before Vivek,
Hi.
Srinivasan,
Yeah.
sir, yeah, please ask the question.
Sorry, I had a glitch. I had to go out. Don't have many questions. Since you mentioned Bommai, right? So that's also another Kannadiga, right? And it's just incidental that his son is actually the chief minister now.
Yeah.
But if you see, the Bommai case actually put an end to that. That time, rampant misuse of the provision, right, to dismiss state governments. And after that, I think maybe there have been 1 or 2 dismissals. I was just hoping that your reference probably would do the same thing, right? With that,
Yeah.
this judgment.
I hope what Debashis and Sucheta have achieved. I think it's very far-reaching. Like when Bommai's case came about, okay, it was not something very well known, but over a period of time, people are quoting that precedence. See, these people have set a precedent, like Keshavananda Bharati, Bommai, and I would put Sucheta and Debashis case in that same league in my limited understanding of legal whatever jurisprudence. So anyway, thanks, Srinivasan sir. Do you have anything else to add? No.
Yeah,
Sure.
Debashish alluded it, I think briefly, and he was also being modest. But what really, stopped them from buckling under the pressure, right? Because NSE was putting a lot of pressure, and was it just the belief or the ethos, or you have to kind of win this for the others? What really, gave them the strength? I'm just curious to know. Maybe that itself, probably some of it is there in the book, but I'd really like to know from him his words. Right? What really gave the strength?
Well, we don't know of any other option, because if somebody wants to come and sue us, and if you are right, we are not wrong, and with a clear understand, we have a clear understanding of what the defamation law is. Okay, so we published that article, that letter. Sucheta wrote a follow-up opinion piece, which is very mild, and asked them therefore their point of view. So we had we had checked all the boxes of the right kind of process, what a journalist should follow. And once you do that, you are actually very astounded that they can even file a case. And in fact, a lot of people we ourselves knew, I mean, subject to whatever the judge's decisions, the court craft, and as they call it, and how the drama created by the lawyers, etc. Those are separate issues. But on the face of it, on merit, NSE had no case. It was clearly a frivolous case to us, as well as to Dr. Swami and anybody else we spoke to. So in that situation, buckling down is so foolish. If you're wrong, you apologize, you take it down, you move ahead. If you're right, why won't you fight? I don't even understand. If you don't want to fight, then why be in this?
Debashis, see, it's very easier said than done. Now, if you are right, then you should fight and all that. But what Srinivasan sir is asking, I think, is you have to have a different kind of DNS. Suchita is here with us in the audience. I'm sure I have to ask her also as to, obviously, your DNA is very different from a lot of
Yeah,
our DNA. All I can say is that.
no. That's correct. There is no question about that part. But the thing is that because that is well established, because our DNA is different. I'm not working for Economic Times. She's not working for Times of India. I left full-time employment as a journalist when I was 32. So because my DNA is different, I left. She left a few years later, 7-8 years later. So this is past, and then I set up my own thing. So because of this, so if we would not have had, this have happened pretty late in our life. It's not that we are 30 and we didn't know and we are fighting. We have a whole track record of doing certain things in a certain way, and therefore we are out of the system already. Then we have our own publication. Then we write something for which is very obviously is correct, and we are on the right side. So you have to take into account our context at that time in 2015 when this happened to us. It was not like, at the beginning of a career or something and we didn't know or whatever. And of
Yeah, but
course,
it happened in 1992 also, right? At the 1992 also, people would have put pressure on you.
Yeah, I got sued by Hemendra Kothari for 25 crore. The judge threw it out. First hearing. And the case never came up. I was working for Business Today at that time. I had gone to Japan with the PM's entourage or whatever. I come back, there's all hell broken loose. There's no mobile phone, nothing at that time, not even proper landline. So I said, they've sued us. I said, the case comes up. Justice Junjunwala was there. They start arguing. My lord, our client's picture has been put next to Arshad Mehta's, this, that. He says, oh, so what? It's a magazine. They'll put pictures. What's your problem? And before Sucheta had gone out to make some call. By the time she comes back, the thing is all finished. Within minutes. That was a 25 crore case, which was in 94. Okay, 93.
Those were the
93.
days.
Yeah.
Those were the days.
So, this, you have to understand the context that we have been independent minded. We have set up our own thing. The whole facts of the case are in our favor. And Dr. Swami has given us enormous courage and hope and content. I mean, basically the legal arguments.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks. Shujan, would you like to ask a question?
No, sir. I would like to thank him for his time, sir.
Yeah, thanks, Shujan. What about Vivek? Vivek, are you there? Okay, I think we'll circle back. Chetan, would you like to ask a question?
Yeah, thank you, Vijay sir. And I'll just like to say a little bit, Debashis, that hats off to your work, which you're working for the common investor. And I think you epitomize the word fiduciary for all of us in that sense. But, and obviously, many people don't know that even Suchita ma'am has won a Padam Shri for journalism. So that way, I think you've done a great job. But like someone was mentioning Scam 92, and there was the merchant banker that you named just now, and then there was Citibank, and there were other. There was a bear cartel also. So many people go scot free in this whole process. Maybe though that bear cartel today are the biggest bulls in the market, but there are all these moving parts in the whenever a scam happens and all. So some go scot free and some, get caught. So, what do you feel about this present one, which we are talking about NSE now with SEBI investigating? Will we be able to get to the bigger players also in some way?
No, SEBI has investigated. They've given all the orders. The orders are, they have been challenged. So in a normal course, nothing would have happened because SEBI's orders against credit rating agencies have been overturned by SAT. So I don't know. The system is incredible. I mean, If a rating agency can go from AAA to D in a matter of months and then still get away scot-free, you know how the rot in the system is. So, but the question this is that this is now a CBI case. And depending on how this is too premature. So for us, this is a new direction that has just started. So SEBI has nothing to do with it. SEBI is finished. I mean, SEBI has done its work. Maybe one report may come or whatever. And those reports have no meaning. They'll all be challenged. Say, NSE has refused to pay the 1,000 crore fine. They've got the escrow money, part of the escrow money, back from SEBI. SAT has ordered, I think. And but now, what you're seeing now is a new chapter. And it is too premature to say how it will unfold. It all depends on what the regime at the highest level wants to see, and what pressure opposition can bring. And this is all speculative.
Yeah. Thanks, Debashis. Vinay, not Vinay.
Vivek, yeah.
Vivek, sorry.
Am I audible now?
Yeah, you are audible.
Okay. Thank you, Vijayji. This is a staggering conversation, the likes of which I think Clubhouse has not seen, at least the India audience. Very grateful that Debashish and Sujata ji both are there. It's astounding the kind of work that you do, because this is not really convenient for anyone, neither for you, the regulators, and so many other interested parties. So I have a few questions for you. One is, as investors, traders, what can we learn from the knowledge that is coming out from your work, investigating into all the flaws, the lacunae in the system, and how can we become better investor traders? Are there material, is Money Life a good source for getting to know the glitches and opportunities for us? Yeah, are there books that you have written which help us kind of know what not to step into because of the issues there? So that's the first of the question. Second is, you've written the scam and the absolute power. Are there other things which are relevant for us which we need to read? Then the third is, there is this conversation now in the media about definitely needing to have more exchanges because of the power that is being wielded by these people to their gains illegally and whatever. Do you think there is merit to that, and does it have the legs to find reality, get to reality? And the fourth, the last question is, I'm a little curious. Both of you, Sucheta ji and yourself, got together before your investigative work or after your investigative work, and is it very tough to do because you're taking on so many people in powerful positions? Thank you.
Well, your first two questions are I'll combine, and I won't get into specifics, but I'll tell you only one thing, which is applicable to whether journalists or investors, and that is, you have to think for yourself. You have to be an independent thinker. You have to go by facts, and if you and this helps me, the same kind of thought process I bring in when I we look at a company or look at a news or whatever. Maybe I'm in a slightly better position, and I look at a news and I say, well, this has been planted by somebody. You may not figure that out, because I have years of experience in figuring this out. But the essential quality that all of us must practice is not go by powers that be. Because the finance minister said something, it will happen. Because it is there in the budget provision, it will happen. Because a CEO of a company says it will happen. All these are misconceptions. You have to go purely by facts, happening or not happening. Make a judgment with a clean, open, independent mind. And no book, believe me, can teach you this. This is a thought process you have to cultivate over a period of time on your own. And we both, if there is something in common that we have independently done all our lives, is to think for ourselves, think independently at every stage. If we are human beings, it can very well happen that for a period we believe somebody or the other, but that period doesn't last too long. We quickly come back to the reality, because the moment we see something not matching with something, the dots are not able to connect, we start thinking along a completely independent line. So this is a quality that is of great value in any profession, according to me. Even if you're a doctor, if you're an independent thinker, you will be a better healer. And this is what I found out. So your first two are combined. The third question was, if you may repeat, I forgot now. I think.
Yeah, The books, you've written two books.
Yeah, no, those are the first two questions. I think you asked about exchange. So the I mentioned already that there are two steps to be taken. One is drastically reduce the charges that NSE is charging us, and getting away with absolutely fat profits. 3,000 crore. If the turnover is 3,000 crore, the operating profit is 2,000 crore. That that Hello. Yeah, that's just too much. I think the that's one. And secondly, systematically, policymakers will have to get together and figure out how to increase volumes in BSE so that they become really a viable competition. I believe if the market is 60-40, or even if it's 70-30, with 70% of the total volumes and not just the cash market volumes, even then we'll have NSE on its toes. That's the solution, and not a new exchange, because exchange volumes it's impossible for a new exchange to create volumes. There, as I said, there is something called network effect, which is the more people go to a place, the more other people go to a place to trade with each other. You will not go to a new exchange if it comes, no matter how much you are in love with, because you do not have a counterparty over there, and it's very difficult to build liquidity. Liquidity doesn't move. It's a winner take all game, and there has to be policy responses to ensure that there are alternatives, and there is only at least one alternative. Usually it will be one.
Yeah, thanks, Debashis. Vishy, would you like to ask a question, please?
Yeah, thanks, Vijay sir. Thanks for arranging this informative session, and thank you, sir, Debashis and Sujata, the madam. Okay. My limited question was regarding this CBI Colo trading system scam. So again, it was brought to the notice of CBI, I think, 4 years in 2018. That is what I get to hear, read. But why were they sitting on things for last 4 years? And again, if you look at post this, it's one of the biggest scam. But Chitra has been let loose, and again, it's in the news for a few days, and then it's again lost in few other things. And now recently also we get to hear that she's been targeted because she's a woman entrepreneur. So that's the narrative that we get to hear. And I'm sure Sujata ma'am also is aware of some of the decisions this judiciary also have evoked, be it on NCLAT, the DHFL case. Yes, Bank, she has been helping us with the petitions and getting the visibility. So where do you see this? I know it's one of the biggest scam of this decade. I can say that, and many retail investors have burned their hard-earned savings. But where do you see that? Is there any light or anything that because nobody is held accountable? It's like only in the news and let go, and even this there's no change in the board of directors also, surprisingly. So the same gang is there, so it's only the uh, old juice in a new bottle, that's it. So
Well, some of it is not correct. There have been changes. There have been multiple changes in NSE's board and so on. But it took time to do the investigation. B, there are so it's the minimum amount of time you have to give. Then they appointed Deloitte, and then on top of that, they appointed Ernst and Young. So they had these independent investigations going on. But the fact is that this has been a problem, and I mentioned it right in towards the end of my comments that all the eminent men from top to bottom have to be asked these questions, and as and when it's asked honestly and fairly, we will probably start getting a little more answers. But until then, uh, it's very hard to say. Uh, we are not insiders at the end of the day. Who did what? Who compromised the investigations? Who delayed the reports? These are all very difficult things to say.
Thanks, Saurabh.
Yeah, thanks Vijay sir for this session, and Devashish ji and Sucheta ma'am really courageous work. So I will have just three quick question, और दो नॉर्मल एक क्वेश्चन होगा, एक थोड़ा इम्पोर्टेंट आई थिंक आप उस पर बता पाएंगे. एक सबसे एक तो दो चीज, व्हाट कुड बी द as per your estimate, what could be the size of collocation scam? And secondly, जो हिमालयन योगी की बात चल रही है, so ये alleged the report in media that the person arrested is that yogi, so आपको क्या लगता है वही है क्या? और third one is like, is there any portal for like a retail investor where we can like, if we have to invest in any company or something, so corporate governance is the major issue, so do we have for retail investor any portal or something like that where I can just put the name, and if any regulatory action on that company has been taken place, or some media report or something, so that can be sorted by company name, so that will be really helpful for a new investor like us.
I don't know whether there is any portal like that, but if you are in the social media today, frankly, there is enormous amount of very high quality information being shared by a lot of people voluntarily. You have to seek those handles and follow them. And for certainly for new investors, there has never been a better time to get unbiased, good quality information. I personally follow them. I put them on lists also, so that I don't miss. Even if I don't follow them, I put them in lists. They are much more important to me in lists,
Yeah,
because then I can sort of don't miss their tweets. So it is, they have found out quite easily, and a lot of people are providing good quality videos, and so you would, if you follow them, you wouldn't even want to know which are the bad companies, because you will get to know the good ones, which is what the objective is. And I've never understood this whole thing of how to spot whether a company is scamming or not. How to spot whether the balance sheet. I mean, I don't think that's an objective, and you will spend too much of time you'll waste too much of time trying to figure out the bad companies, which is not the objective. The objective is to find out the better ones, right? And these are all now very clearly being shared, discussed, by very good quality. Many of them are youngsters. They're doing videos. They're doing their own websites. They're doing, apps. So if you follow them, you will be on the right side of the universe.
Yeah, the size of the colo scam is what I think Saurabh wanted to know.
yeah.
Yeah,
Size
nobody knows that there has been a report, but I don't know whether the report is reliable also. And there have been wild figures like 50,000 crores, this, that, but I don't think there has been a proper estimate of that.
And that yogi, is that the person who arrested the alleged name?
There's no other. There's no third person. It's very clear. This is just a ruse. Probably more. We have a theory, which I don't want to put it out in public, but essentially there is no third person. This is the same guy.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks, Saurabh. Yeah, Prabhat, would you like to ask a question? You just, I think, I'm new to Clubhouse.
Sir, good evening. Good evening, all of you. Actually, I'm very new to this economic market and all. I just have a very simple question. I mean, what makes the behavior of people so ignorant in respect to the scams? You said in one statement कि जब तक foreign media, foreign paper, BCC जब तक वो documentary नहीं बनाते हैं, इंडिया के लोग उस पर ध्यान ही नहीं देते. I mean,
No,
is it because of the?
I mentioned that mainly about somebody asked about why isn't there more noise and why. So I said, who will make the noise? There are actually in India, the noise is made by politicians and media and politicians, back and forth, right? So if the media makes a lot of noise, politicians pick up, or if politicians make a lot of noise, media picks up. So these are the two segments which actually bring things forward. The politicians usually bring things out because of their own vested interests. So somebody may be targeting Modi and say that, look at, under you all this is happening, and then so on and so forth. So it is all, they are not interested in cleaning the system. Nobody is interested in bringing out the facts and getting justice. Nobody is interested in long-term solutions. They want to make a noise, and I only said that they will make a noise about things that touches the lives of people. They'll make a noise about rising prices. Why will they want to make a noise about something which is so difficult to understand, an algo scam, NSE, which is anyway properly functioning. It's not that the exchange is dragging the country down, and there are malpractices, there are misgovernance. Some people are responsible, and it's okay. I mean, if they take this issue to the masses, will they get a hearing? No, they will get a hearing only when they can frame it in a manner that 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 attracts interest, that attracts the attention. They can throw mud at the ruling party, can throw mud at the opposition, and vice versa. That's one. And media, why they don't do it the way do we do it? I have no answer. It's for them to answer.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
what would be the mindset of our? I mean, how we train ourselves in a way? You told us, no, independent thinker. Be an independent thinker.
Yeah,
So, I mean,
that's
how?
That's a separate session. I don't think I am qualified to sort of coach you, but essentially I approach things from I can tell you, if there is a piece of fact, I don't take it for granted. I am never in awe of authorities. I never take government pronouncements. People, for instance, today, because this government is a little more purposeful than the previous governments, they think
Yes, sir.
all the policies, whether it's Gati Shakti or this or that, they think it's like it's the word of God, and all the policies what they have announced will happen. I don't think like that. I think it won't happen, or I will say I'll tell myself, let's see, when it happens, I will see. So this is an approach. You can apply this approach in every field. You have to be really courageous to think that most people don't know anything. Most experts also don't know a lot of things, and especially in an area which is not pure science, right? Which is not physics, which is not
Yes, sir.
chemistry. Huh? So those areas, which is social issues, social sciences, economics, business, finance, nobody can predict. Nobody is an expert. You have to make your own path. This is what I believe, and I found it repeated.
Glaston, would you like to ask a question, please?
Hey,
Yes,
Vijay, we
thanks,
need to
Vijay.
close. It's quite late.
Yeah,
So
fine,
maybe
fine.
one or
We're ending. We're not taking any more questions. Just
yeah,
three.
one or two.
Yeah, yeah. These two, Shibu and Sai Krishna, last two. Glaston, quickly.
Yeah, thanks, Vijay
Sorry
ji.
on that, Debashis. Oh.
No problem. No problem.
Just a quick question.
Hi.
Uh, so I had read about NSE co-location scam in one of your Facebook posts, I think probably during 2017, and also heard Sucheta ma'am talk about it, about SEBI turning a blind eye despite repeatedly sending many, I mean, repeatedly questioning about it. And like personally, I have also filed SEBI scores on a few companies posting some false announcements, and also recently I had also filed a complaint to SEBI about some irregularities posted. Made by probably by the registrars, but never got any help from SEBI. I mean, just a automated reply, automated response through email. And also recently, I had a very bad experience with BSE. I had observed that BSE has been giving wrong data after each and every rights issue. So when I called them about it, they initially told me to file the RTI. But later, when I repeatedly asked them about the same thing, they say that we cannot answer about it. You have to talk to the registrar or the company secretary. It appears as if when this happens every time, that BSE is giving the wrong data after every rights issue. So what do you think is a right way to handle this thing?
I am not sure what is the right way to handle. Maybe you should talk to some of the investors whether this is actually happening or not. Because my first reaction is that others would have also made a noise if there is a wrong data. Because a lot of analysts, a lot of fund managers, and a lot of people are also watching the same data, right? So it's best to figure out first whether it's correct or not. Uh, and besides, there is this the complaint that you're making about SEBI scores or whatever. I mean, this is a very common complaint. Unless investors get together, unless more people complain, unless more people reach their elected representatives and make this point that we have voted for you, you are supposed to look after our interests, and this is a fair and a legitimate thing I'm asking for, and this is not correct. Are you going to help me or not? So the question to ask is not to me or SEBI or whatever, to people who have the power to ask these questions. The biggest thing that SEBI is scared of, or any government organization is scared of, is a question in the parliament. They don't want to answer. They don't want to face that kind of a situation. So that is your route. You have to pick up the phone and talk to somebody saying that I have voted for you, or I am in your constituency. I want you to raise this and see what happens. This is not something we ever do. And this is our responsibility as a citizen in a democracy.
I think that's a very, very good point you have made, Debashis. Late in the day, but still, I think a stunning point. We are not forcing our representatives to do their job. I think that's one major thing. Before I go to the last questionnaire, on a very personal note, I have studied in Sainik School, Bijapur, and
Right.
in Sainik School, Bijapur. One of the things which we learned was, when we are ending anything, we say last but not the least. And I noticed this in your book when you said, when you acknowledge people who help is last but not the least. Name there was your brother-in-law, Sunil Dalal. Sunil, incidentally, was in my school. He was my junior. My roll number was 636, his roll number was 707. He was just 1 year junior, and we were in the same house. So I just remembered about that. last but not the least thing.
Right,
So
right.
that is some small connection between Sucheta and Debashis and Sunil and me. And the last question, Shibu.
Thank you, sir. I think, Debashis, sir, you have done some excellent work for the common retail investors in India in terms of investigative journalism. So I just have three small questions. The first one is, uh, this Chitra Ramakrishnan's appointment, is it a political one? My understanding is, I know she has been appointed and nominated as the CEO by the previous government. And the next one is, are there any other directors of NSE involved in this scam, including the Colo and the recent one? And the third one is, why more people like you are not coming for this investigative journalism in India? So if people like you, more journalists are coming and writing this kind of, for public awareness, it will be more helpful for common people.
So the first question is whether it's if there's a politician behind it. Perhaps, in the absence of facts, I can't say anything more in the public domain. But the kind of thing that they have done is most likely because they were emboldened by somebody and they were empowered by somebody to do so. That's one. Secondly, whether I'll take the third one. I don't know why others don't do it because there's no. This is not a viable thing for anybody. Most of them. I mean, we have our own publication, so we wrote. So if you remember, it was a lot of fight for Sucheta to get her the story on Harshad Mehta in Times of India. Even the headline there did not mention Harshad; it just said Big Bull. So if you work for a publication, especially a large publication with a lot of commercial interest, you cannot write what you want to, and you can do it only if you have your own blog today. And when we started this, there was no concept of blogs and things like that. But today you can be an independent person. You can investigate it. All the entire ICICI Bank scam, the Chanda Kochar, that came out because somebody wrote a blog, which nobody noticed initially, but eventually that was the reason. So you can do that today. But by and large, for large mainstream publications to get across an investigative piece of journalism is impossible because of the cultural issues. They are not interested primarily. They do not select people on that basis. There was a time a Statesman newspaper had a separate team called Inside Team, 4 or 5 people whose only job was investigative journalism. They formed a separate team. This was the same model that was followed internationally by New York Times, by Telegraph in London, and so on. So those cultures, those newsrooms, those style of functioning have all been destroyed. Today, newspapers are able to survive, except the top few. And television is not a for platform or a forum for investigative journalism at all. This is why they use the word show. Everything for them is a show. It's not a place where you go. People would like to sort of expose anything for everybody. That because it's even more difficult because you got the visual ads, the costs are higher, and so on. It's very, very expensive to start a television station, and who would give you ads if you try to do all these things? Not only would you not get ads from the people that you write about, but those people are going to influence their peers and other people also not to give you ads. So we don't want to have anything to do with this kind of journalism. You wouldn't know. Today you are praising me. You would be surprised to know how many people have different times sneered at somebody even said that this is yellow journalism that you are practicing. So when things are good, you're heroes. When things are not good, even the most powerful people can say, you write rubbish. What is this shit you're writing? I mean, this is all yellow journalism. They say this. They have said this to our faces. So it's not so simple. I've forgotten your second question.
It's okay. We are coming to the end. We have actually taken much more time. Debashis, I requested for 1 hour and it's already gone to 1.5 hours. I don't know whether you had dinner, and I'm sure if you not had dinner, Sujata may be furious. So please apologize to her on our behalf that we have held you for much longer time. And just for pure statistics, we have crossed 705 today. Highest we have ever got was about 600. and this is the live audience. And then people listen to recorded version, which I'm sure will reach four figures on that.
Super.
More than the pure statistics, I think the quality of reply, the quality of what you mentioned, that I think was first rate, I would say. And
Thank you.
thank you once again, Debashish. You are a person who's always in a shell. I suspect you never come out in the open. Sucheta ma'am at least is there. I mean, up front somewhere she'll be. She's always there on the TV or in any other media. But it's good to see that you have come out and so nicely you have explained. Thank you once again. And to the crowd, I would say absolute power is an absolute buy. Please go ahead and buy, and please go to moneylife.in. You will get much more information than what you can get in any other website. And I'm not saying this because I know this family. More important is if you simply look at it from an objective view, that is the place to be. Thank you once again, and good night, and see you sometime.
Thanks,
Debash.
Vijay. Thank you so much for having me. Good program. I really enjoyed it. Thanks for allowing me to share all this. And no problem. It got much more because it was very enjoyable. So it got spilled over. And good questions. Good program. Thanks and all the best.
Yeah, thank you. I'm closing it. Good night,
Right.
all.
Right.
Yeah,
Bye.
thank you.